Okay, everyone, we're now live. Please proceed.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the September meeting of the Mountain Community Capital Fund Operating Committee. Great to see you all with us on what was a long Labor Day weekend and holiday weekend for many folks. You have a pretty straightforward agenda. I see one lender with us today. May I ask, so I can appropriately add to the agenda, are there any loan presentations this morning? No? Okay. We'll ask that question again if our other lenders jump on. Before we begin, if we may go around, I believe we're at quorum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, we definitely have quorum. So we can proceed. But before we do the approval of the minutes from the August 6th meeting, I should be sharing my screen. I apologize about that. As usual, given this is a public meeting, I would like to ask that we I want to do a window, not a screen. I'd like to ask that we go around and do quick introductions. My name is Jeff Kaplan. Good morning. I am the chair of the Mountain Capital Community Fund and the director of Venture Asheville. To make it easy, I'm just going to go around my Brady Bunch of a screen and say your name. And if you could just do a quick intro and say hello. So next I have Tony McDowell. And also, if you could say if you're a voting member. I'm a voting member.
Yeah, hi, Tony McDowell, yes, voting member representing the city of Asheville. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Carl, I'll have you next.
Yes, I'm Carl Alguire. I am a voting member and I'm new to the board, so it's my second meeting.
Second meeting. They say the second meeting is the best meeting.
I hope so.
Next is Nikki. Actually, they get better from here every time. Nikki, please.
Good morning. My name is Nikki Reed. I'm with the Community and Economic Development Department for the City of Asheville, and I am a voting member.
Very good. Thank you. And I believe I'm not supposed to say interim, our note taker for this meeting, our minute taker is Rachel. Rachel, good morning.
Hello, everybody. Rachel Nygaard here with Buncombe County, voting member.
Very good. Thank you so much. Karen, you're next.
Karen Umansky with Self-Help. I'm not a voting member.
Very good. Thank you. Angelica.
Good morning. I'm Angelica Driver. I work in the Community and Economic Development Department with the City of Asheville. I am an administrative assistant, and I also work closely with the Business Inclusion Office, and I am not a voting member.
Very good. Thank you so much. Jesse, do you want to say hi? I know you got your camera off and mic off.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Jesse with Self-Help. I'm a non-voting member.
Thank you, Jesse. Next is Tara.
Hi, I'm Tara Brown. I'm also with Self-Help, and I am the Director of Community Engagement for Western North Carolina, and I am not a voting member. Thank you.
Very good. And last but not least, the fabulous mountain biking Vice Chair, Tim Love.
Good morning. This is Tim Love, Buncombe County Government, voting member, Vice Chair for the Mountain Community Capital Fund. And thank you, Jeff.
A pleasure. Very good. Rachel, I'm going to ask you, are you able to copy and paste this? You have this link, right? So you can see who on the committee is not present.
I got you covered.
For you. The best. Couldn't ask for a better interim note taker, ad hoc note taker. Very good. So next, our first agenda item is to approve the minutes from our August meeting, which you all received yesterday. If you would like to review them, we can together. Or if there's any changes, any motions to approve, please let your voice be heard.
This is Tim. I'll motion to approve the minutes as written.
Thank you, Tim. Do we have a second?
Second.
Very good. All those in favor to approve the minutes as presented, say aye. Or actually, if you could show your hand. Very good. That looks like unanimous, but I'll ask just in case, any opposed? Very good. Thank you very much. Old business. I'm not going to speak for all 10 minutes on the follow-up on the Dogwood grant application. The things are looking good, but I'll just share that we're in a tactical question of, because MCCF cannot actually receive the funding, but we would be responsible for it, the lender that would receive the funding may or may not have responsibilities to Dogwood Health Trust. So we're trying to iron out those details, and at next month's meeting, we should be fully wrapped up and able to let you know how this goes, and the full, once we figure out who's responsible for what, which is just, again, ironing out details. I don't think this is a major issue. Will be fully submitted, and by next month, we should have a better update for you. Any questions about that? Anything else? Very straightforward. And that, again, is the amount of matching our current allotment of $450,000. Okay, next, new business, website updates and recommendations. That was with Mwbe, and myself took on a number of items regarding potential changes to the landing page. And those included things like adding the logo to the website, establishing a short link, something easy to remember, correcting links to lenders, which those are already corrected. Thank you, Angelica. But what I want to show you is some of the items that Mwbe really took the lead on, which is including an FAQ, defining some terms, defining what proof of business viability means, and more explicitly stating who are the right points of contact, which are on this tab. But I have a question before we do this. The key question is, can we purchase a URL to be a short link dedicated to this page? That's a question for the committee, because I'm not sure. Again, we don't have a budget as MCCF to say, yes, we're going to spend $12 on the URL and then redirect it to the appropriate page on the city's website. Nikki, you have raised your hand. I assume this is to help us move this conversation forward, or an idea? Great, please take it away.
Correct. Let us follow up with our IT department, because as I understand it now, it's a page from the AshevilleNC.gov. Right, Angelica's okay. And so I think what we can do is what I've seen, at least in the past, is to be able to say AshevilleNC.gov/MCCF, or, for example, like what I have now with one of our internal pages is AshevilleNC.gov/city property or /bids, and then that will redirect you to that longer drawn out thing. But still, that would be a more streamlined moniker for the web address, unless, I think the other alternative would be to look at another hosting if it needed to be something like www.mccf.org. But at least that's something I know we can offer and do now without any true constraints there. Is that right, Angelica? I appreciate you raising your hand too there.
Oh, yes, I can confirm that IT can make short links for our pages, and they're usually, like you said, AshevilleNC.gov/whatever, so we could do AshevilleNC.gov/MCCF if we would like to.
Yeah, I think that would certainly suffice the pain point we're experiencing. How do y'all feel about that? How does the board feel about getting a short link where it's the root of the city website /MCCF?
I think it's a good idea.
All right, I think that's a simple and elegant solution that will solve all of our problems. Thank you. Okay. So next, Mwbe, I see you're in this document. Are you online? Oh, Yaslin has joined. I don't see Mwbe on the call. Okay, we'll move forward. So we wanted to add a few sections to the webpage, presenting it here for review, and then we'll send this over to Angelica, who can actually update the page. Also, if you send you the logo, which we have. And okay, so let's get into this. So one of the questions was, how do you define a viable business? As it's kind of vague on the current webpage. This is mostly taken from Exhibit B in our bylaws and operating and procedures manual. So a lot of this documentation already existed, and it was just about getting it, in an easy to find place. So it will be a lot more text on the web page. One question Mwbe and I wanted to pose to the board was that there are industry restrictions of what is a restricted or non-restricted business. Is this TMI, as the kids say, too much information for the webpage, where it says, you can't have an adult business, bar, tattoo parlor, body piercing shop, pawn shop, check cashing business, car sales lot. Can't be engaged in illegal activities, loan packaging, speculation, yada, yada, yada. So quick question, how does the board feel about including this whole paragraph, or leaving it more vague and ending it at that period of certain restricted business industries?
This is Tim. I would go more vague, so that we don't want our entry point to be a litany of things that we don't want to do. And we would rely on the CDFIs, I would think, and in their underwriting to sort of handle those types of eligibility questions.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure if it's really necessary to have that on there, because they wouldn't qualify if they were any of those businesses anyway.
And I agree with that too.
Okay, very good. Awesome. Thank you. It's easy. Otherwise, time in business, management experience, and financial trends. Those are all pretty straightforward and simple, and a couple sentences each. Any problem or question with those? All right. To really make this more accessible for folks, we expanded the FAQ, frequently asked questions, also a little flow chart of the process that Mwbe put together in Canva. We're going to come back to that first. Some definitions. What's a loan guarantee? Right? It's a promise made by an organization or individual to pay a certain amount of the outstanding balance of the loan if they're unable to pay it in full. Who is the lender? Quick question for Karen at Self-Help. There was somewhere it's listed as Self-Help Ventures Fund, and other places Self-Help Credit Union.
So I'd go ahead and just use credit union. We may make the loan, Self-Help has a number of different entities. We may end up making the loan out of the ventures fund, but it doesn't matter to the customer, and people in Asheville know Self-Help Credit Union.
Great. Thank you. But this is an important sentence that we might want to bold or underline or something. Interested applicants should follow standard small business application with a participating lender. We want it to really be hammered home that you apply for these loans, to qualify for these loans through the lender. What is a guarantor? We just pulled this up. I've got, the language that it's like dictionary.com language that we're using for that one. Who is the guarantor? Saying the MCCF is a guarantor for certain small business loans underwritten and approved by, again, participating lenders. We're using that term for Mountain BizWorks, Self-Help Credit Union, and Carolina Small Business. What are the loan terms? We didn't, again, want to be a little vague here because we don't want to obviously prescribe what the interest rates are. But again, from the bylaws, $5,000 to $75,000. The range is 7 to 20 years. And interest rates are competitive and determined by the lender. Is that fair, Yaslin and Karen, as lenders? Is that acceptable to you guys?
I think that the range, the repayment window says 7 to 20 years. Should we give them a range? Or should we say that it depends on the lender as well?
I agree, lender and use of proceeds. So if it's just a loan of $75,000, or it could be potentially part of a larger deal, I think that only this much is for. I agree. 20 years would be very long for us for something for a $75,000 loan for working capital, and I think leaving it vague would be better.
Yeah, and I think what most people would understand because of this is that they would get a $75,000 loan in a 20-year term. So we got to change up the wording here a little bit.
So may I suggest loan terms and interest rates are competitive and determined by the lender?
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Very good.
And then I would say the MCCF works to guarantee loans as small as 5 and as large as 75,000. I would add that in there.
Under that same, what are the loan terms?
Yeah, so on the same sentence
Mhm.
there, just because we do loans up to 200 or up to 350,000, so we don't want there to be some confusion there when they come to us and say, "Well, I thought the max was 75." So
make sure that's right. The MCCF works to guarantee. We're saying portions of loans up to 75,000. That's not right.
no, I would say MCC works with lenders to guarantee loans as small as 5 and as large as 75.
Gotcha.
Does everyone else feel that that's self-explanatory?
Yeah.
Okay.
If
Understood.
we're good on that, just kind of going up to the guarantor. So we often, I mean, the small business is the borrower. Sometimes the owner may be the guarantor on the loan. I want to make sure. Oftentimes we'll get borrowers who say, well, Mountain Community Capital, this happened when we were doing a Charlotte program. Well, the Charlotte program is guaranteeing the loan. So why do you need collateral? Why do you need me as a guarantor? You've got that. And I'd have to think of wording, but I want to make sure that it's Mountain Community Capital is a guarantee for the loan. However, I mean, somehow that they're on the hook. That's not the language, but that they don't get a free pass just because Mountain Community Capital is guaranteeing the loan. And I think somewhere we have language that I can probably share later. I can find with some other programs that we had done, and even with Charlotte Community Capital.
Yeah, that'd be very helpful, Karen. Thank you. Now I see that Mwbe has joined, so I want to acknowledge how much effort she put into putting this together. So thank you, Mwbe. Okay.
Yeah.
There you are. Hey, good morning. So on the next one, what kind of collateral is required? We went back and forth on how to describe this. So lenders, would love to hear from you all. How do you want to describe the collateral piece? So far, I have MCCF will consider applicants who have no or little collateral. Examples of collateral include cash, assets, real estate, personal property. I think that part's easier, but is there a phrasing you'd prefer to who have no or little collateral? And that is, I believe, the purpose of this program.
I mean, what it does is it mitigates a lack of collateral, but that's not the language that we should use on the website. So I think that this works.
Again, it's not overpromising, it's considering, not funding or approving.
And can I ask a question?
Yes.
Karen, could you just explain for my own education how that works? If the loan is guaranteed by someone else and they have to put up a personal guarantee, what's the structure of the loan? How does it get back to them if they default?
Do you mean like what if they default on the loan, who does the lender pursue?
Yes.
So it depends. I mean, normally, if there's the thing is, oftentimes what we find is that there's a small business, the owner and the small business are sort of inextricably tied. So it just sort of depends on the structure. Sometimes a small business, the owner is a small business, they're a sole proprietor, or the way that they're structured. So it's going to depend who, like for a small, like $10,000 loan, maybe we just collect the guarantee. But if we're looking at a larger loan and this is just one part of it, then that individual is also going to be the guarantor. So for example, if someone's buying a building and they need some working capital and we're using MCCF for that small working capital part, we require personal guarantees on our loans. And so we would usually see, I mean, oftentimes they don't have any assets. A lot of times it's just for that sort of tie-in, but it just kind of depends on the loan and the loan size, what we would require and do. If someone had assets, we might pursue those or get a judgment, but the whole point of this is it was mostly for people who don't really have that many assets. And so we wouldn't do that.
Thank you. And as for Mountain BizWorks, it's a little different per lender. So we do all of our loans. All of our loans are business loans with a personal guarantee. So they are to the individual and to the business themselves. So in that sense, if they were to default, they would still be liable personally. So, yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Very good. Our next last FAQ is MCCF a loan fund? Understanding how that could lead to confusion, having fund in the name when we're not actually a fund per se. And so to define it, we are a guarantor on qualifying loans for participating lenders. Again, if you are interested in a loan, please contact a participating lender. Trying to drive traffic back to our lenders. And lastly, I don't know if I can blow this up a little bit. If I zoom in, do you guys see me zooming? You do. Allie and I were tag teaming on, I was using Google Drawing, and she said, we're screen sharing, or we're sharing a screen. She basically said, stop it. I'm in Canva. You're doing a terrible job. Let me handle it. And you did a really nice job, Maui. So look at that. Great graphics.
Hey, Jeff. One thing I wanted to add, or see if we could maybe add it in there, was to maybe say that they could only submit one application to one lender so that they're not submitting multiple applications to every single one of us.
That makes a lot of sense. And I bet we could phrase it as a question. So the question would be phrased as, can I apply with every lender? And then the answer would be, to qualify for MCCF, you may only submit one application to one lender. Is that right?
Yep. And then, of course, go through the approval process. If they get declined with one lender, then they can then apply to another. But, that's up to them.
Okay, I'm just writing that down. Maui, I'll get with you and to edit this webpage. I'm locked out. I did request access to that document.
I think I approve the access.
Thank you. Very good. And lastly, Angelica, if we save this as a JPEG or PNG, are you able to upload an image like you do with the logo to the webpage?
I should be able to. Yes.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
just simply, this is the graphical simplified version of the loan approval process. Apply for a loan, again, with participating lender. Lender approaches MCCF. Committee reviews the loan request, pretty straightforward. And again, that the lender is the one processing and dispersing funds, not us. I think it's to us obvious, but I think it's going to be a very helpful graphical representation on the webpage. All right. How do y'all feel about this? Think it'll help our webpage and achieve what we hope it will? Very good. Okay, I'm getting lots of thumbs up and nods. Maui, thank you again so much for your effort. And Angelica, thanks for having to be the one to get into the HTML and the JavaScript and the Python and the C++ and the developer with us. Okay, great.
It's not quite that complicated, Jeff, thankfully. Otherwise, I would have to outsource it.
Very good. Okay, so Angelica, while we continue to heap praise upon you, you are our next agenda item. You have an exciting update to share regarding a program available or that you're promoting and new for the city. And I'll just mute myself and let you take it away.
Before you move on, Jeff, I think it might be helpful to have a vote on the changes.
Thank you, Rachel. As I've said before, your parliamentary effort goes a long way on this committee, holding us accountable. We would not be effective without you. We are so blessed to have you as our ad hoc minute taker, and maybe one day you will find yourself in the role of secretary and really keeping this board operating strongly. As chair, I would entertain a motion to approve the MCCF website edits with the additions that I wrote down, including editing the short link, editing self-help to credit union, adjusting the loan term section, getting the quote from Karen on guarantor versus guarantee, and adding the question of can I apply with all participating lenders, and the appropriate response provided by Yasleen. With those changes and what we see here, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
This is Tony, so moved.
This is Tim, second.
Very good. All those in favor, if you could raise your hand. Okay. Any opposed? Very good. The motion carries. Thank you very much. And Rachel, if I haven't done a good enough job expressing my appreciation for all the work you do for this committee, let me know. I can do more if you need more. The background looks really good today that you're behind you, those mountains. You could have taken that picture this morning, that hazy 57-degree morning we experienced. Okay. With that, I think we're ready to move on to Angelica to discuss AVL pathways to grow.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. And good morning, everybody. I'm very excited to present AVL Pathways to Grow to you all and to explain what it is. It is a partnership between the Business Inclusion Office and a national nonprofit called Interrise. And Interrise has partnered with about 80 cities across the country to provide this training program for small businesses, and even a little closer to home in Charlotte and Greensboro. And this training program has provided, on average per participant, about 36% growth in revenue, 4 times the jobs created than the regular rate of the private sector. And participants have collectively secured $895 million in government and institutional contracts. So what I really like about it is such a data and results-driven program, and we think that it's going to be really effective in Asheville. So it is a training program for established small business owners, and we are focusing on business owners of color and women business owners. And it's not necessarily for people who are, they just have the idea and they're starting up. It's for people who have at least one full-time employee. They've been in business for at least 2 years, and they should have at a minimum $150,000 in revenue, but can have up to $5 million in annual revenue. And it consists of 7 months of biweekly classes, and this curriculum is provided by Interrise and will be delivered by Rosanna Mulcahy, our lovely business inclusion manager. She's away at a conference, and I am helping to present. But I'm the program manager, and she is the instructor. in this structure. So the classes will cover a lot of bases around strategic growth planning, financials, marketing and sales, identifying resources that these businesses can use. And in the end, they present their strategic growth plans. And this is really effective because businesses can start, with an idea. They can start in just a moment and kind of go along for a certain amount of time without necessarily knowing all of these foundational aspects. So it really helps fill in the gaps in knowledge that some business owners may have. And I think it's also really powerful because the business owners will be learning from guest experts. We do have some opportunity, and we're kind of working out how the logistics will be, but we are going to have local guest experts on a number of topics, but we may even be able to pull in people from outside of the community to deliver the expertise virtually. And another really great strength of the program, I think, is about its emphasis on connection. And it has a cohort model. So these folks are together for 7 months bi-weekly, and they have a structure for CEO peer mentoring. So, everyone during the program, of course, everyone is taking the class, but they also have time set aside to connect with each other, bounce ideas off one another, get advice. And this is really great because it helps allow them to basically stay connected, build relationships. And from what Enterprise tells me, a lot of people that are in cohorts together do end up doing business together. So it's a great way for them to grow internally. But, I also love Enterprise's structure because it helps create a larger connection with the community. So one of the things that I love about Enterprise, just thinking about that name, like, people rise together. Success doesn't exist in silos. Businesses can be most effective when they have support from the community, and the community benefits from being connected with businesses. And so Jeff, I think did you drop the link in the chat to the event?
To register for the event. I also have Enterprise here. I'll put in the chat if you want to learn more about this organization.
Yes, thank you, Jeff. And I did send out an email yesterday afternoon, I think, to everybody who's in this group, but feel free to let me know if you didn't receive it. And that was inviting you to a convening event. So on September 13th and the 22nd, we are bringing together just a huge variety of people in the community, because we have a number of different ways that people can plug in. We would love to have some of our partners help us identify participants who they think could really benefit from the program, help connect those participants with resources. We are looking to talk with lenders who may one day be able to provide that financial support for these businesses to grow. Some of our larger businesses that these businesses could end up doing business with. And of course, looking for those guest experts helping us with promotion and sponsorships. So it's really kind of about this big ecosystem. And I think, that word gets tossed around a little bit in our community, but I think it's a very apt one because there are many different key roles that different people and organizations can play. And we really believe this is going to help benefit Asheville and our region, especially when you look at that job creation rate. I mean, that's great. And also, I think one of the stats that I didn't write down, but these jobs are created with salaries that I think are about 3% higher than average. And I think that's fantastic. Like, we are looking for more quality jobs to be offered in our region, and these businesses can help provide that. So my ask is that you all please attend the convening event, where you'll get more details about the program and how it works, and hopefully generate some ideas on how you can help to support it. And please do share it with anybody that you believe could plug into our ecosystem. So that is my presentation, and happy to take questions.
Rachel, go for it.
Thank you for sharing about that, Angelica. This question may be obvious, but I just want to confirm. Is it open only to businesses that are in the city?
It is open to businesses that are in the region. So the Business Inclusion Office, we have an MWBE certification program, and MWBE stands for Minority and Women-Owned Business Enterprises. And that covers a 10-county region. I can't read all the counties off to you now, but it's basically, Buncombe County and a lot of our surrounding counties. So we would be interested in inviting people who are, say, in McDowell County, Madison County, Jackson County. We would love them all to participate.
Thank you.
Yes, Tim?
Well, thanks for the presentation, Angelica. It's super exciting to hear about another program to support small business owners in this community. It's great. I wondered if we could talk a little bit, and I think everyone can probably chip in on this one, but understanding how this program fits in with some of the other programs that are kind of available. And the reason I asked that, I'd just like to understand, the progression for a small business owner as they're going and navigating through our community. Like, are there any gaps that we're missing? And that's not the job of this committee, but I think it's important because we're all leaders in this space to think about that. How does this program relate, for instance, to the Catalyst Fund? And Yasleen, I saw you come back up on the screen. And how does that relate to this Mountain Community Capital Fund? Or MCCF participants, going to be enrolled in this program or that program? I'm just trying to piece it together because there's a lot of good stuff going on, and just that's not for any one person to answer. I just want to talk about it.
Yeah, well, just to answer quickly, I would say that one of the things that's different is that this is really geared towards business owners of color. And I think that, Catalyst does help deal with that as well. And I think that, there are a number of business owners who could be served by different programs.
How many participants are you wanting to have in the first cohort or in this round?
The first cohort is going to be 15 to 20 participants.
And
so, yeah.
Okay. And I'm assuming there's going to be like an application process that they have to go through.
There is, yes. The web page is currently up, and I will share that as well. But there is an online application, and applications are open now and close on October 11th. Mm-hmm. And then we'll be looking at starting in early November.
Okay. Could you send me that email? I don't think I've got anything.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think too, it's not like we can immediately serve 1,000 business owners. So I think the other training programs that we have out there, this is an addition to that.
Can I clarify a detail, Angelica? Were you saying when you're talking about those claims, one of them was about revenues brought in through government contracts. So is the goal of Pathways to Grow to help business owners of color secure more government contracts, or is it for any business in any industry they're in?
That's a great question. So one reason that we were interested in Interrise is because we do have disparities in contracting in the city of Asheville based on that 2018 disparity study. And so we do want to help engage in this capacity building so more businesses can be ready to do business with the city. However, that is not our sole focus. We're also looking at, how are we more broadly benefiting these business owners in the region? And so I think when I was reading through Interise's materials, they talk a lot about how the program is really effective when there's a mix of different types of businesses. And so we really want to encourage that diversity of business types as well. Yes, Maui.
Thank you. So kind of piggybacking off of what Tim said, my experience as a first-time founder a few years ago, there are a lot of resources in the region, and there comes to a point where there is an opportunity cost for the founder to really evaluate what programs and incubators, like there's not a shortage of that, especially if you expand outside of Asheville. Like I've gone to programs in Charlotte and Raleigh, for example. And so, I wonder if there's a way to really communicate the value prop of this and be very specific so that people don't, like to get enough interest, but not for people to just blanket apply to everything. And, because when you're thinking about starting a business, you have limited time and resources, but really time. And so I found just from my personal experience that like every other person wanted me to be a part of their program. And a lot of them are newer, younger, kind of piloting type programs like this to the region. And I just didn't have the time to do it all. And there wasn't a whole lot of guidance around what I should or shouldn't do. So I kind of just picked and did some and didn't do others. But I think that was a real struggle for me, was just navigating through all the different programs, not only what was the most relevant to me and my business, but also like learning to like count the costs and like say no, if you will, to all the great content and programs out there.
Yeah, I think that is an excellent point, and that is something we've also been discussing a lot internally in economic development. And so I don't have a fabulous answer for you yet, but I think there is a lot of value in looking at how among resource providers, and maybe the city is a good place to play that role of like kind of collating all of those different resources and trainings that are out there and helping people navigate that. Because yes, I've heard like in my work with the Business Inclusion Office, I have heard some similar sentiments from the business owners I've worked with. And so as far as how this program can set itself apart, I believe that it's focused in who it's looking for, and it's somewhat selective. And, because we are looking at business owners who kind of like fit those criteria that I mentioned. And I think that specificity can be helpful. And we are just really looking for people who want to work on their businesses, they're ready, and they can make that 7-month commitment. So, these kinds of things may be the deciding factor for folks who are like, oh, I don't know if I can commit to going to class every 2 weeks for 7 months. Maybe something that's offered by another provider is more appropriate for me in my situation. Does that help answer your question, Maui?
That's helpful. Thank you. If ever I can be of any help in that specific arena, definitely let me know. I know Jeff has a great landscape of like all the different resource providers in the area in the Venture Asheville email, and it gets bigger and more robust over time. And I can only imagine being a new founder, like landing in Asheville today, how that could be kind of overwhelming to navigate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would love to reach out to you because you've had that experience and just want to gather your perspective on how things could be improved. Thank you. Carl? Oh, you're on mute.
To the point that Maui was making, one of the things that I saw that really helped differentiate this in the Chicago startup community was the list, caliber, and quantity of resource partners. Who are the entrepreneurs that are accessible to me? Who are the business groups? We had funds, we had tech partners. There's a whole Google startup thing. So I could, on a given day, make an appointment and talk to them free of charge. I could talk to an attorney. I could talk to entrepreneurs in my space. And for me, that was a huge help in determining the value, was who are the partners in this group? And, once you've had a cohort or two that have succeeded, that those become legacy resources to the group as well. And that was very helpful.
Yes. Thank you for that comment. And I think that's another thing that sets Interrise and what will be AVL Pathways to Grow apart is that it does provide that, it provides the connection with the cohort during the program, but also provides opportunities down the line for people to stay connected and to connect with the participants of the various cohorts and the people they meet. And, perhaps, one of the guest experts is someone who has something that they can offer one of the participants, and they grow together and they just kind of keep that connection in a really positive way.
That's awesome. And Angelica, I'm going to chime in again, and again, broad conversation. What I'm wondering, and Nikki, I wonder if it'd be useful for us to take a Tuesday agenda and start talking about small business resources with like a broader group of folks, because I want to be clear. I think this is awesome. It's great to have another resource. But during the pandemic, we took some effort to kind of do like a decision tree of like resources available to small businesses, and it leaned pandemic because we were disaster relief focused. But I wonder if it's time to sort of take a look at that approach so that we can understand kind of for different types of businesses, startups or businesses that are established, women-owned, minority-owned, whatever we're focused on, and understanding kind of what resources are available, just to see if there's any gaps. And there may not be. We may find that we've got everything covered. It just seems like something that would be good to do. That way we can, move the needle together on this. What do you think about that, Nikki? Does that make any sense? Or
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it does. And I think, it makes sense. So we want to make sure as we focus on our small business ecosystem that we're addressing gaps and understanding resources and getting that full picture. So I think it's a great idea to follow up in that manner.
Yeah. One of the things I've heard in a presentation, I don't know if y'all have talked to Eagle Market Development Corporation about their Mountain Equity Fund. I know they're just trying to get that one off the ground, but they sort of view that as kind of, you know, if we're thinking about a pipeline, you know, and, you know, you've got a business that comes through Mountain Community Capital Fund with limited collateral and then grows over time, but then gets to a point where they're ready to sort of scale a little bit more and grow. You know, they need that kind of equity infusion. And so on their pipeline, you know, that's like the next tool available to them potentially. And there are other tools as well. I'm just thinking, how do we, you know, look at this from, you know, beginning to end and to see where those resources are lacking, in particular for, you know, historically disadvantaged businesses. That's kind of where I'm going with this.
I mean, and it's funny because I think of like that's how really MCCF got started. You know, it was addressing gaps. So, but it's something that I agree we have to do on a continual basis so that we're being effective in reducing barriers for startups or continuous growth. So, makes a lot of sense to keep analyzing that system, you know, and making sure that we're moving in the right direction.
That's great. And I know that, Jeff, this is not the purpose of the Mountain Community Capital Fund, but I mean, there's folks here that clearly have passion for small business and just making our community a better place. So, cool. I'll stop.
You know,
Hey,
while
Tim.
not, go ahead, Rachel.
Tim, what's the next step on that?
I think I'll schedule some time. We have a group of folks that meets almost weekly in the business community. BizWorks is represented, the city, the chamber, TDA, AB Tech, others. So I think it'd be good to kind of bring that forward in the next month or so, just to kind of talk a little bit and see what makes sense. And sort of at minimum, I think dusting off the decision tree would be a good thing to, at minimum, reflect Catalyst and, you know, Asheville AVO pathways. So.
Yeah, great comments. I think, is that everybody who had a question?
I'd like to share a comment first. Angelica wanted 5 minutes for this topic, and it seems to be such a rich one with such potential that we're all very excited and a lot to share. So, Angelica, I know this is one of the first times you've brought this program out to some kind of like out of the inner circle, and I hope that you're finding you're being met with a lot of enthusiasm and optimism for the program. And so we look forward to cheering you on and supporting you any way we can. To Tim's comment, while like this is not within like the narrow scope of the MCCF, this board and our representatives from our lenders and our committee members are, you know, purposely pulled from, you know, influential parts of the community that have their hands in other pockets of other startup or business communities, and that is very on purpose to give us a well-rounded committee here. So I find it's a very good use of our time to have this discussion and make sure everyone knows the resources. I'm going to go a little into my like ecosystem soapbox for a moment and say that I do believe that word is overused, just like unprecedented, I think. But here's my thing about ecosystems. I don't believe any individual or any organization can own or control an entrepreneurial ecosystem. Rather, I believe that there are many startup or business communities, and it is the interconnectedness between those communities that comprise the ecosystems. So what I mean by that is like we've got the tech, the high growth startup community. You've got the small business lifestyle community. You've got the Black entrepreneurship community. You've got the immigrant business community. Heck, there's a West Asheville community and East Asheville community, right? So, but the more interconnected those are, that's what the actual ecosystem is. And the more interconnections, the more thriving it is. Some of you may know or may not know, we have a project here called the E13.com. You don't need to go to it, don't need to take the test, but we look at entrepreneurial competencies, and one of them is the ability to build and leverage networks. And my partner in this project is Paul Grattan, who's an associate dean at Montreat College, and he's been building a body of research to publish on each of these competencies. And he found a study that came out in 2019 from China that showed researchers were able to predict the survivability of a startup based on the size of their network. So using these statistical models where they, you know, created, like, say, this entrepreneur has this kind of business and this size of network. So to Angela's point, I think Angelica's point, this convening of partners and individuals is helping people kind of get a head start on building that network to help them be more. And it's proven now, right? We can prove that the bigger your network and the more interconnected it is, the more likelihood of survivability your startup has. So very excited about this program. I shared a link to our resource map that Mwbe mentioned in the chat. Let me say that every time I showed this page to somebody, I met with, we forgot this. What about this? Mountain BizWorks. I get an email once a month from Mountain BizWorks telling me I have the wrong logo. I know, but I can't edit and change this resource map. In 2022, which is only 4 months away, we're going to do a full revamp of our website. And this and the job board on our website are the most clicked on links or most visited pages. But this is inflexible. It's a PDF. It's not editable. So I really want to go after this resource map. Because like a new program emerges and we can't add it for months until I have time for our designer to find a bubble and put it in. I don't like the inflexibility of it, and it's an easy target to add a lot of value to our community. So,
hey Jeff, I have a quick question for Angelica. Are we able to share the link, the Eventbrite link, with potential interested participants? So they can attend, or
this convening event is more kind of for, sorry to overuse it again.
No, I get it. I get it.
And I would say that we are going to have some informational sessions for people who are interested in becoming participants. And that would be, let's see, we're going to do a press release on Tuesday, and we'll have links to those sessions in that, but I can share that link with you for people who may be interested in becoming participants.
Yeah, that would be great. I already have a few people in mind from our Catalyst program that I think would be great for something like this.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just thank you so much for all of your questions and comments and time. I really appreciate it. And I'm so excited and can't wait to see how this is going to really strengthen everything in our community.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah. Tim's applauding. We look forward to seeing the impact and let us know how we can help. Very good. Rachel has a hand up. She raised a hand.
I'm seeing Tim's note in the chat that the resource map from Venture Asheville is the map that you were discussing. For the minutes, I had written something that I now think maybe I misunderstood. So my initial understanding was that the resource map that currently exists is startup only, and Tim, you were wanting to have partners get together and talk about the resources more broadly for small businesses regardless of startup, but that's based on you saying that it was the same map. Can you clarify the focus of the upcoming meeting that you'll be scheduling?
Yeah, I'll clarify. I do think we shouldn't limit ourselves to startup only, because most businesses aren't startups. And the resource map, I think, has evolved many times, Jeff. So a prior version, I think, had different resources on it. I still think we need to have that conversation for startups and existing businesses, small businesses alike. And Nikki, I wonder if you agree or disagree, or what do you think?
I mean, I think that's a good sounding board to do so. So I agree.
I'm going to put a link in the chat to what is my favorite startup resource map decision tree I've seen, and I saw it was just updated. This is from Startup Sacramento, and this is version 6.1. So they periodically update it. Before, it was a much more streamlined subway map. This is getting really complicated. And I think typically cities of that size with a lot of resources do get complicated. So if you're looking at this as an outsider, right, and this is a good lesson, exactly, Rachel, right? So if you look at this, you go, where do I start? Like, what do I do? I think it's overwhelming, and it appears that things are siloed, even though you have these circuit board interconnections. I like the old version better, if I can find the old version, but it was a subway map. This is a little intense. Hey, we're at 10:30. We got 15 minutes left. Our last agenda item is loan presentations. Self-help, I know, does not have any loans to present. Is Carolina small business? Okay. And Yaslin, anything from Mountain BizWorks to present?
Not this month yet.
Okay, then. Well, very good. At this point, we'll move along and entertain any public comment. If you have any public comment, Angelica, is there anybody in the queue to speak and present from the public today?
We do not have any live commenting callers.
One day we're going to have one, and we're going to be really excited about it, and I can't wait until that day comes. So if anyone's even watching or watching this recording, you have an open invitation to share public comment. We'd love to have you. Well, in that case, I guess I don't think there's anything else to vote on. Rachel, may I ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Chair, I believe you have the authority to adjourn the meeting.
If there's no other business, we will adjourn. Our next meeting is going to be the first Friday in October, which I believe is the 7th, maybe the 8th. You could easily look at a calendar and tell you all. I swear I clicked on it. Hang on. Will be October 1st. It'll be October 1st. That is the first Friday in October in our next meeting. We'll see you then, and that will be online, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Very good.
Correct.
See you online October 1st. Thanks, everybody. Have a great long Labor Day weekend. See ya.
Thanks, everyone.